Hey, what's up? It's Dr. Taylor, and I just want to talk about a case that I saw today and just kind of how I work through some of these complex cases. In all honesty, like most of the people I see, there's no way I could go through all this person's history and symptoms. And she's pretty complex. She's in her 20s. She got a lot of different symptoms. She's had different surgeries, different, medical procedures, seen different specialists, had a lot of labs, things like that. But I want to simplify as far as my action steps. I think that the biggest target for this person is inflammation and immune activation and pathogen burden, and I don't say that for everybody. Sometimes I say it's toxin burden. Sometimes I say it's hormonal imbalance, whatever else. But for this person, I think it's pathogen burden. So I'll explain kind of why and kind of go through the thought processes with this. For one thing, here are her symptoms. She's tired all the time and she's sick all the time. So again, that makes sense that there's this pathogen burden. She's literally getting sick like a couple times a month where she gets fevers, swollen lymph nodes, has unstable body temperature, headaches, just the typical like inflammatory cytokines that come along with sickness, with immune activation, especially with the lymph nodes. So that's why that's on our radar. She also has pain. She has some neuropathy and some things like that. And then she also has bloating. And then she's got an extensive history. So when we see things like low white blood cells, we think that her immune system might be suppressed. She's had cat scratch disease, not from a tick bite, but that's Bartonella. That's a common tick co-infection or Lyme co-infection, I should say. She's had her gallbladder out. She's had her appendix out. She had all kinds of other, specialist procedures. But here are kind of the action steps. And I want to explain this a little bit. You think if you've got this chronic pathogen burden, then it's like, well, we got to go after that with antibiotics from a pharmaceutical standpoint or with herbal things from a natural standpoint. But we got to go after these viruses. We got to go after this Lyme. We got to go after this cat scratch disease, whatever the case is. But that's not step one in my book. Step number one, the first step is dampen inflammation and support the immune system. And so I want to talk about that one just really quickly, but there's two teeter-totters that are really important in the autoimmune world that are intimately connected. And the first one is when you're inflamed and you have an autoimmune process, it's usually an upregulation of what's called Th17. Th17, this is tissue damaging inflammation. And Th17 responds to things like fungal infections. So fungal things are on our radar anytime somebody has an autoimmune condition. But Th17 goes up and somebody's inflamed and they feel like crap. Their joints hurt or their brain hurts or their thyroid hurts or whatever else. But Th17 goes up and Tregs go down, regulatory T cells. But over here is the important stuff that can lead to that is when you get an imbalance over here. Th2 goes up. That's epithelial inflammation. So sinuses, gut, lungs, things like that. And Th1 goes down. And that fights things like pathogens, fights Lyme, fights mold, fights viruses, fights Epstein-Barr virus that this person, knows that she has. So one of the things that we have to do is boost the Th1 and innate immune system, especially for this person, because she's getting sick all the time. So we've got to boost that immune surveillance. Now, Th1 also blocks Th17. So I suggested to her 3 different supplements, 2 of them for boosting Th1 and the innate immune system, one of them for dampening Th17. It has a blend of anti-inflammatories like quercetin, resveratrol, turmeric, things like that. But we need to do both of these, and we can do both of those at the same time. The second action step is gut. So we're going to run some gut tests to see what we need to do. Do we need to pull weeds in the gut? Do we need to plant seeds in the gut? Do we need to heal the gut lining? Do we need to avoid certain foods? We're going to test for food antibody reactions. So we're going to do all this and see, does she have SIBO with the bloating? Does she have a fungal overgrowth or CFO, or what all is going on, and keeping in mind the lack of appendix and lack of gallbladder? But a lot of our time is going to be spent working on the gut, for a couple months probably. And then 3, that's when we'll go after pathogen burden. So I might use some things like cat's claw or biocidin or cryptolepis, which is hard to write. But things like that, or biofilm busters. I don't know what I'm going to use. Yeah, but that's going to be step 3. First, we've got to dampen the inflammation and support the immune system so these viruses stop reactivating or whatever keeps happening. It keeps making her sick. Then we've got to go to the gut. Then we can go after the pathogen burden. And I told her today, I said, step number 4 is we don't know. We'll see how you're doing. We'll see what we need to do next. How are your hormones? How's your brain? What do we have toxins that we need to detoxify? Step number 4 doesn't really matter right now because we've got our next few months laid out in front of us. But this is how we're approaching this case. And I'm willing to bet that she's going to see good progress and good results with some of these things. And a lot of her symptoms that just tell me that her body's inflamed and her immune system is kind of dysfunctional. So hope that helps.